Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for January 12th through 18th. This week I read one book, I watched one show, I watched two movies, and I listened to two books. The physical book I read this week is Don't Be a Drag. This is about two rival drag kings potentially falling for each other. Essentially, we have Briar, who has come to New York City for the summer so that she can hang out with her big brother Beau, who is a drag queen. He even gets to headline his own shows sometimes, so she's at the club and she's watching him do this and she's just so proud of him, but also she is full of anxiety and also is clinically depressed. That second point is actually kind of the reason why she's there for the summer, because she still has one more year of high school to go, but her parents thought it would be really good for her to see her brother because she previously made an attempt to no longer be here, or at least was on the other side of a locked door threatening to do just that, and he was able to talk her down. When a very beautiful but very arrogant drag king talks about how nobody else's drag could possibly beat his drag at the Drag King of the Year awards that are coming up, Briar decides, you know what, I'm gonna try drag just to spite this guy. Does she make some beautiful friends along the way? Yes. Will this book also possibly make you cry because it made me cry? Also yes. Because as we probably know, anyone understanding of mental health, depression just kind of does its thing. It'll get you whenever it wants to get you, and it's not very nice about that. So even though Briar is having a great summer and getting to visit with Beau and meet these new friends and have this fun rivalry, all of a sudden she can't get off the futon she's sleeping on for a couple of weeks and she can't do anything about that. This book comes with a whole trigger warnings page at the front, which is great, so I highly recommend reading that ahead of time if you have any triggers. Because like I said, I spent a decent amount of this book crying. But then my theater-loving heart also spent a decent amount of the time of this book picturing what was going on in these different drag turns, and it was just a great time. As for the one show I watched this week, we finished the 4th season of Only Murders in the Building, and now I just cannot wait for the 5th season. What can I say? I kind of knew going into the last episode of the season, oh no, hopefully it's not this character that's going to go, and it was, so that's unfortunate, but also I'm looking forward to seeing that character in flashbacks in the next season, I guess. I'm also really sad that the person who died for this season will obviously no longer be in the next season, unless Charles Hayden Savage still continues to see their ghosts every once in a while. Also, we now have a cast member who has kind of died 3 times in the show, and I don't want to wreck it, so I'm not going to tell you who it is, but yeah, technically, I guess, 3 times. No, I'm not going to say that last bit because that's a spoiler. The show continues to be really fun, and even though you know that in the first few episodes when it seems like it's going to be somebody, it's never going to be that somebody, it's still really fun to kind of put it together and by the last episode be like, oh, it's actually this person. This is what happened. Also, there were some great guest stars. Like, when you find out who Charles Hayden Savage's sister is, it's just a good time. As for the movies I watched, I rewatched Wicked with my friend Katie because we both absolutely love that movie. She's actually seen it 4 times now, and this is my 2nd time. She actually purchased it on whichever streaming platform has it available pretty much immediately, and now that we've watched it again, we can now watch the commentary track when she can figure out how to access that the next time I'm in town because she doesn't live here. I was telling her that I purposely didn't reread the book or re-listen to the soundtrack going into this because I have read the book back in high school and I used to listen to the soundtrack all the time, and I've seen the show twice on the West End, so it's not like I haven't experienced a bunch of this before. However, it's been a really, really long time. The last time I would have experienced any of it would have been around 2009. So by the end of this movie, I was able to turn to her and be like, so this one thing I noticed from the beginning, was that a thing in the other media? Because I honestly can't remember if it was or if I just missed it. Also, she kind of hinted at some things that I completely forgot about that I'm excited to see happen in the 2nd act when that comes out in November. The other movie I watched this week is one I had never seen before. It's 19 years old, and it has a lot of celebrities in it that I've seen in other things before, and that's My Super Ex-Girlfriend. This one stars Luke Wilson, who is an architect or something like that, maybe a project manager, and he's had some ups and downs with dating, and there's definitely this girl in his office that he's into, but she's dating a male model. So he goes on this date with this girl he meets on the subway after he gets back her purse when somebody has stolen it. And we, the audience, know the whole time that this is the local superhero. However, as time goes on, he seems to realize that this isn't a perfect fit, and when he breaks up with her, that is definitely not what she wants to have happen. There was a bunch in this that was fun. We did laugh a lot. There was also a bunch in this that was cringe because, like I said, it's almost a 20-year-old movie, so of course there's going to be, especially when you've got these gender role things going on. But as just a wrap up and just a very surface level talking about it, it was a fun night. As for the audiobooks I listened to, the first one was Different Kinds of Fruit. This is a middle grade audiobook about this girl named Annabelle, and she goes to this thing called the Lab, which is like an alternative school where she lives in Tahoma Falls, which is outside of Seattle. Basically, it's a small town, so she's grown up with all of the same kids, and sometimes kids end up moving away from Tahoma Falls, but they've never really had a new kid since like the 2nd grade, and now they're in the 6th grade, which is the last year of elementary school, and they get a new kid. This new kid is named Bailey, and they use they/them pronouns, and they're kind of the coolest person Annabelle has ever seen in her life. However, when she goes home to her parents and tell them all about her cool new friend, they kind of freeze up a little bit, and she uncovers some things about her family she absolutely did not know before. This one was absolutely heart-wrenching at points, but also full of so much joy and people discovering who they are and being open about who they are, or battling this being closed off because of safety concerns that are completely valid. And all I can say is I absolutely loved this. We have a very antagonistic character in her class who is constantly being like, well, if you're gonna have a panel about all these queer people, then like I need to have a panel about my straight white CEO guys that I think are cool. And then of course he's got a mother who is very protective and thinks that he's being bullied, so she goes to the principal and gets all these things in their classroom changed, and it's just a whole cluster of a situation. I really enjoyed this audiobook. This is one of the audiobooks that I like kind of talked back to a bunch of the time when I was listening to it, because things would be happening. I'd be like, oh no, I hate this, or that type of thing, or just reacting to whatever situation's going on, but I would do it verbally, which means that I'm really invested in what I'm listening to. The other audiobook I listened to is called The Right to Sex. This is a book of feminist essays, and there's not much more I can say about it besides kind of covering some of the topics that were in here, such as there was one essay that also had the same title as the title of the book, and that one mostly talked about incels, and more than one certain person, actually, now that I think about it, who ended up hurting a bunch of people just because they felt entitled to women's bodies. There was also a whole essay about how you probably shouldn't sleep with your students, but how that is a much bigger issue than just saying, hey, don't sleep with your students. This also talked about the carceral system and other points of intersectionality, and it had a lot of really interesting things to say that I wouldn't have necessarily thought about myself. This was another one that had me kind of going, oh my god, what the heck are these statistics? Largely because I spent a bunch of time with both of these, listening to them in the car while I was going up and down the island for a board meeting, but also I would do that while walking around by myself, which I always assume is really amusing if somebody happens to be looking out their window and sees just somebody talking to themselves as they walk down the street. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!